Coming up on today's show, we welcome a brand new co-host. Rollerdrome is getting rave reviews. The Last of Us Part 1 remake finally arrives. There's more woes for Halo Infinite, and Cyberpunk shows off its new show for Netflix. It's been far too long. Oh my god. Jamie, I was going through the old shows that we did, and the last one we did was 3 months ago, so a bit of a hiatus, a long hiatus for the podcast. But my god, it's so good to be back. Jamie, I did have a big whole intro planned to announce that, you know, the show's back. We're back to doing like the weekly shows. We've even got a friggin' amazing new co-host amigo as well with Sarah. This is the comeback episode 76 we're on. Oh, pop.
Sorry.
And, God, I wish I had a can of pop right now. I could actually do that with a little bit extra sugar. I was napping, believe it or not, before we all jumped on. I thought, it's okay, we're not recording until 12:30. It's fine. I can just like lazily wake up. And I thought, wait, hang on a minute. Who said 12:30? It was 12 o'clock. How did I get 12:30 in my mind? And I was frantically running to turn everything, put it all on, and I thought, oh shit, I planned this big kind of comeback show and I'm already late for it. So good lord, like starters you mean to go on, right? A dumpster fire, a dump truck on fire, as they say.
More fun that way.
Yeah,
I know.
My favorite kind of dumpsters, the fire ones.
absolutely. So Sarah, I'm gonna hand a little bit over to you because you have to introduce yourself. If anybody is new to the podcast or hasn't necessarily seen your guest episodes, you have been a guest a few times on the podcast beforehand. Mm-hmm. I've managed to arm wrestle you into being a regular co-host on this show of misfits and chaos and shambles, and here you are, a proper co-host now, a regular.
Yeah. Woo. I mean, do I need an intro? It felt like that was kind of an intro, except for the bit where it didn't say anything that I do. But aside from that, it was great. It felt like I was like, oh yeah, I'm about to like come on stage, at an award ceremony or something. She says optimistically. Yeah, I guess for anyone who doesn't know me, my name is Sarah Lynham. I am from New Zealand, but I now live in London. I am a voiceover, actor, singer, nerdy gamer. What else do I do? I work in finance when I'm not doing all those fun creative things. So, like, I'm kind of a right brain, left brain person completely.
You do? Mm-hmm. You work in finance? Seriously?
Yeah.
Wow,
this is the first time you're hearing about that.
It is. I just thought you were like full blown. In the entertainment space, that was your main kind of thing, like VO stuff, theater, concerts, and all this kind of stuff. Wow, you're actually a proper Wall Street mover and shaker as well.
Not quite that. I'm actually training to become a chartered accountant, though. So, yeah, that's what I'm doing as well.
In this day and age, is that not basically just a job where people phone you and you tell them that they haven't got any money? Because
Yeah, my job is essentially, we're not paying that, or we're not paying that yet, or guess what, we paid it. And that's...
There's an invoice in the post, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, the check's in Yemen.
Did you say
if anything's gone missing, it's in Yemen. Just
wonderful. So that is a decent little introduction to Sarah, our new co-host. Oh my goodness, the three amigos are back and we're doing podcasting. I love it. I absolutely love it. But more importantly, you've been doing some VO stuff in the video game space just recently, and we're going to be talking about the one that just came out in a little bit. But guys, we have a cracking show, a cracking comeback show for you. If you're still listening, if you're still there and still watching and still listening, please don't go. We have obviously
they saw me join and went, oh no, a woman. God,
I know. We are going to be talking about the indie darling that is Rollerdrome that just came out fairly recently from Roll7. We're going to be talking about The Last of Us Part 1 remake, remaster, price gouging, cash grab, is it? We're going to be discussing about that. We're going to be talking about Cyberpunk 2077 just did a new Night City Wire, so that is back in the press, making headlines with a big DLC expansion pack coming next year. And this is the next topic is going to be one of Jamie's trigger points. It really does trigger him, and that is the ongoing saga that is Halo Infinite Woes. We're going to be covering that, and if we have time, we're maybe going to be talking about a couple other little articles which I popped in at the very last minute. But if we don't get to those, we can carry it over to the next episode. So back to Sarah for Roller Drome. Yeah! Come on!
Oh my gosh, this is like. I mean, aside from one other project that I'm doing that's coming out later this year, this is one of the coolest things that I can say that my voice is in. Like, if you ever played any Tony Hawk back in the day, imagine that, but on roller skates, but you also have guns and you shoot people. It's so, so cool. Like, and it's all pretty and cel shaded. And just go and play it, man. It's so good. I think if you have a PlayStation and you have a certain level of the subscription service, you can actually play it for free, or you could play it for free for a bit. It was the game that was included for that month. So.
Yeah, it's like on the essential or premium plan or something like that from PlayStation sub membership.
But even if you don't have that, go and buy it. It's so good.
It looks amazing, and it is, from what I've heard and what I've seen, it is that kind of Tony Hawk skater, but mixed with like 80s classic Running Man sort of vibe where you're killing, but it's like sport as entertainment and slaughter as entertainment, that kind of Smash TV kind of thing as well. And oh my god, it just looks so good.
Yeah, essentially it's like a Bloodsport style game, and then there's also a story that's running in behind it as well. So you're sort of in these arenas playing the sort of the core part of the game, which is you perform tricks, and you that's how you replenish your bullet supply as well. So if you've shot out your entire clip, you just go and do a couple like wheel grabs, and then you're good to go and shoot people again.
That is such a cool mechanic. Instead of having to worry about like pressing buttons to reloading at just the right time or picking up ammunition, like it's traditional kind of mechanics, you actually just have to do this really sick kickflip or something like that, and spin and grind, and then you're good to go again and start slaughtering away whilst looking cool doing it.
Looking so cool. I mean,
who do you play?
What's that?
Who's your character who you play? Who's the role that you did for the game?
So, a very essential role of the news reporter. So I'm part of the story in the background that's going on. And actually, I haven't played enough of the game to hear myself yet. So I'm feeling like, because I know what the content was that I was talking about, it talks about stuff that's quite a bit further along in the story. So... and plus, like, I'm not that great at the game, to be fair. So I'm like handing the controller over to Connor and being like, "Can you do this one for me?" Okay, cool. But it's great. Essentially, it's telling a bit more of the background of the world, the character that I'm playing. So yeah, classic news reporter style stuff.
I love it, and you've got quite the experience of doing that sort of. I don't take this the wrong way, but when I say dry delivery, I don't mean that as a reflection of your talent for doing VO.
Ouch!
Ouch! Sorry about
that. I have a mouth that says I'm a voice artist, so you got to be nice to me.
But it is. I haven't played it yet, but I'm excited to play it. I've got this kind of idea in my mind as to what it might kind of be like. Do you remember Starship Troopers?
Yeah.
Where the Paul Verhoeven sci-fi brilliant movie where it does those kind of like infomercial kind of news stuff. It's like satire, but it's treated very seriously. Like, would you like to know more? Is it that kind of vibe to like the kind of the background world building and things like that?
I think it's less tongue-in-cheek and more quite serious. It's only from the content that I've been doing. I think that some of it is, it's fun. It's not like it's not intended as a comedy, but it doesn't completely take itself seriously, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I went to the launch party. When was it? Maybe when did it come out? Was it a couple of weeks ago, maybe? And it was in an actual roller skating rink, which was
Oh,
so
that's
cool.
amazing.
It was actual roller
Yeah.
skating disco. I was like, I'm in. This is perfect. And I met the guy who does the voice of the there's like a main commentator for the actual game itself, and he was great. We got along very, very well. But I actually did roller skate. You didn't have to roller skate while you were there, but I'm like, come on, you're not going to go to
You
a
got it,
roller
right?
disco
You got it,
and
right.
not skate.
Yeah.
I only fell over once, so
Did you break
No.
into Xanadu at all whilst you were on the?
I should have. They were doing this amazing mashup. They had DJs that were doing kind of sort of house music, sort of not, but also it was occasionally playing music from the game as well, which was very cool.
That's
So,
cool.
Yeah, they didn't give anybody guns though, which is a shame.
Paintballing.
Even water pistols
Paintball!
or paintballing or something. Yeah, that would
I
be
think
good.
That's
water
what you want.
pistols would be bad. We would all slip over.
I'm really
You-
surprised that marketing didn't do like a collector's edition with like free roller skates or something as part
That
of
would have been
the,
very cool.
the collector's edition. Like buy the game, you also get like roller skates or something
Ooh,
like that.
or
I
the
mean-
like
Pretty good.
really fetching orange jumpsuit that the main
Oh.
character is in.
Now
Yeah,
you're talking. Yeah,
Yeah.
I
want
feel
one of
like-
those.
awesome.
I feel like giving away roller skates is just opening yourself up to legal action somehow in this in this world that we live in. Because the first thing
Good
I would
idea.
do-
until
Sign a
someone gets
waiver.
hurt.
yeah, anything you have to sign a legal document for buying it, that's probably that's my kind of special edition. It
That
does
would be so
look
funny. Yeah.
amazing though. Like I watched the trailer because it was one that had actually slipped past me until we were talking about it in group chat, and then I went away and looked at it, and it gave Running Man was the first film I thought of after you said about that. That was the first thing I thought of
Yeah.
with the vibe. But the game style and gameplay, it was making me think of. I don't know if you remember Wet. I loved
Oh,
that game.
Kind of. Yeah, I never played it, but I remember it. You're it's wet work. Where you're like an
Yeah.
assassin or something like that. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
It had that feel of like really good freedom of movement and like slow down in the bullet time type stuff. And weirdly, maybe want to go back and play My Friend Pedro again as well. But again, it's just I like the fact that you come out of a flip and everything slows slightly, and then you're shooting someone in the head, and then you're back into all the freedom of it. It looks really good and it's really pretty.
Yeah, it's like that kind of style of game is like Hotline Miami, but you're on like rollerblades, and you got to do all this really cool, slick stuff whilst taking out the enemies and surviving. And it just looks so good. I'm gonna try and check it out as soon as I can because, well, just because Sarah's in it. Really, that's the only reason I need.
Sold.
Sold. We're totally sold. So let's move on to the next subject, and that is, of course, The Last of Us Part 1 remake, which is not. This is where it gets confusing. If anybody is not familiar with the Last of Us series, this is now the third packaged release of the game. It originally came out on the PlayStation 3 at the very end of the generation, same year as GTA 5, and we all know how GTA 5 has never been re-released on subsequent platforms or anything like that at all. It stayed in that generation and never transcended. But anyway, here we are. The Last of Us is in 2013, so it's almost a decade. And so this comes out just this year, last week. And I have been playing it non-stop. I just finished it yesterday because I'm a huge fan of The Last of Us. I love the writing in it. I love the performances of it. I loved the gameplay, and I know that's a touchy subject for certain gamers out there. They thought it was really kind of clunky and they didn't love it, but I loved it because it was different enough where I felt like I'm struggling to survive here. I'm struggling to shoot. Whereas a lot of people are like, why is the shooting so shit? And all this kind of stuff. So I adored it. So anyway, roll forward into 2014, like literally a year later, the launch of the PlayStation 4, and they remastered the PlayStation 3 version and called it The Last of Us Remastered. And it came with it, obviously, higher resolution, higher textures, but it was essentially the same game. The same port, essentially, right? Nothing really had been done dramatically to it. Then, actually, no, I'm actually going to go and add another one because when the PlayStation 4 Pro launched, and I think that was around, 16, 17 or thereabouts. I'm trying to remember when that hardware launched now. they released a patch that gave it a not quite 4K resolution and some performance kind of jumps and things like that as well. So still quite fresh in the memory for a lot of people, because it's only like within the last 5 years it got this kind of souped up version that you could play on a PlayStation 4 Pro, and it was like the definitive way to play this kind of classic. And obviously they wanted to generate that hype again for 2020 when part 2 came out. So a lot of people replayed it in like 2020 to play through part 1 straight into part 2. I didn't actually do that because I knew the game so well. I went straight into part 2. I couldn't hold off. So here we are in 2022, and they're dubbing it as a built from the ground up PlayStation 5 game where everything has been rebuilt. Excuse me. All new character models, all new textures, all new lighting, all new AI systems, gameplay refinements. And I have to say, I have been kind of blown away by just how good the presentation is. It is phenomenally looking. Obviously, I think it's native like 1440p, 60 frames per second with the performance mode. And there's a 4K 30 resolution mode. I played it in performance mode because it's so slick and smooth. But even that 1440 looks amazing on a 4K TV if you're fortunate enough to have one. But the major caveat here is that it is a full-priced PlayStation 5 game of £70. Now, if you could do some hunting around, I managed to pick it up for 60, which wasn't too bad. But that price is what has really been driving a lot of vitriol or of kind of annoyance on the internet, and we know the internet is never a place for vitriol or anything like that, or people getting upset. But this has caused a new wave, and it's really unfortunate because a lot of people are saying this is not a remake, this is just a glorified remaster because of X reasons, because the fundamental gameplay mechanics haven't changed. I think a lot of people were wanting the actual systems from part 2, like Ellie, where you play in part 2, she can dodge, she can go prone, she can roll under cars, all this kind of amazing extra gameplay improvements that they made to make part 2 friggin' phenomenal. And I've been replaying that as well, and it is, but they wanted that to be transposed into part 1. Like, there was this kind of expectation that the moveset of Ellie would be applied to Joel. And obviously that isn't the case, because, and I think this is where it got a little bit kind of a little bit murky with the messaging, because Naughty Dog said that there's going to be improvements to the gameplay, so everybody made that assumption of, oh, they're going to be adding part 2's gameplay tweaks and mechanics into part 1, and that's obviously not the case. Joel still moves like Joel did in the 2013 PlayStation 3 game, but they have tightened things up. They've made it just feel a lot slicker. Animation blending between hits and movement and running away and that kind of stuff. It definitely feels a lot tighter, but it obviously does not have the move sets or gameplay tweaks or improvements from part 2. So there was this kind of misunderstanding of that right there, and then marry that problem with the cost of this thing. Like, it's not a PlayStation 5 game. It's not a brand new PlayStation 5 game, but they're trying to push that narrative that it is a PlayStation 5 game. It's built from the ground up. And whilst that is kind of true, it still plays like a PlayStation 3 game. Ultimately, it still plays like a PlayStation 3 game. Bit slicker, bit tighter. They have improved the AI actually quite dramatically. I was shocked at how good the AI is now. Like, it really does feel like you're being hunted now, whereas it kind of did a little bit. It was kind of like that, the disguise of being hunted in the PlayStation 3 game and the remaster for PlayStation 4. But now it does actually feel like you're being hunted. They will flank you. They will coordinate. They will try and get around your location. And like, your heart is kind of pacing and like beating when they're trying to hunt for you. So I loved it. But if it was a £50 game rather than a £70 game, I don't think anybody would be saying anything at that price point. It's just that they came in at 70, and they're pushing this narrative that it is a brand new PlayStation 5 game. But ultimately, the mechanics are that generation, 2 generations ago now. The mechanics are still that generation, the end of that generation. So I want to get your thoughts on it. I've rambled quite a bit there, giving a bit of my thoughts on it. So we'll take the price out of the equation just now, and then we'll get your thoughts on the price aspect. But first of all, give me your thoughts on the actual work that's gone into it. What do you think about this as a package? Because just to make the naming convention even more confusing, we have The Last of Us on PlayStation 3. We have The Last of Us Remastered, which is the old game on PS4, which plays brilliantly on PlayStation 5. And now we have The Last of Us Part 1. And that's just the name of it. That's the remake, not the remaster. It's just called Part 1 now. So, guys, over to you. Jamie, you kick off first for me.
So, aside from the naming convention, which gave me strong trying to explain why the first Star Wars movie is Part 4 to my kids' vibes,
Yes.
It looks amazing. Obviously, you've been sharing a lot of stuff from it, and it looks glorious. Now, I've not played any of the Last of Us games because they're PlayStation, and as we all know, I can't afford every gaming, platform much as I would like to. So I tend to sort of let PlayStation stuff slide me by. But Last of Us has got so much love, and all the talk of the TV show, and I've got friends who play. Obviously, you've played it a lot, Ross, and other buddies of mine who played it. It looks gorgeous, like just visually. But yeah, I'm hearing a lot of people saying exactly what you've said, like on Twitter, and that I've seen a lot of it, where it still feels like a much prettier version of what they played before. A little bit smoother maybe, but it's still the same game, which it was always going to be, 'cause even if they completely remade it from the ground up, changed everything about it, it's still going to be the same game with the same story and the same content. I think they would have had less resistance if they had added the new gameplay mechanics, or even a little bit extra content to the game. I know some, it's not the first time a game has been completely remastered and had a little extra story dropped in, or a little extra. Do you know, weirdly, it's a weird comparison, but I don't know if you've read The Stand by Stephen King. The original version of The Stand by Stephen King is 700 odd pages long. Fantastic story, like one of my favorite books. Years later, once he actually had a few years under his belt and the money and the sort of selling power to go, why not? He re-released The Stand, the complete and unabridged version. It was the story he really wanted to tell in the first place, and it's got an extra, I think it's like 500 pages in the book.
Wow.
And it tells whole chapters that were never told, and they weren't even cut from the original. It was that he had them in his head, but never quite added them in because he thought it was too lengthy. And it's a fantastic story, and it does feel like you're reading. It's the same familiar tale, but it feels like you're reading something new, and it changes your perspective on certain things slightly. So I didn't mind going out and buying another book again to, and a full priced release book. So it's looking really good, but I don't know. It looks really pretty, but it doesn't seem to be anything beyond that. That's, again, without diving into the pricing just yet. It's because I'm really nervous about doing that.
Sarah.
I mean, I haven't played the remake, but I absolutely love this franchise. Like, it's a great set of games, such incredible storytelling, and the idea that the clickers now have essentially the AI of the part 2 game, which was already, they were so creepy, having a pair of headphones on and playing that game. No, you play that with the sound out loud in the room. Don't have it coming straight into your ears. That is terrifying.
Brightness turned up to the max as well.
Yeah. All the windows open. But yeah, it's an incredible game, and it's amazing to see how beautiful it has been made, and I think it's a really nice thing for fans to see. I do think that, yeah, like you were saying, Jamie, it would have been nice. It would be nice to have a bit more content to kind of justify having redone it essentially a third or fourth time at this point. I think the problem with adding the mechanics of part 2 might mean that maybe they would need to redesign some of the encounters or level stuff as well, because it would have an impact on the things that you could avoid or the things that you could move around and under. So it would probably just make the remake a bigger project. But maybe if they'd thought about that and maybe given it a bit of extra time, maybe that would have been a good solution, actually. And like you say, without going into the pricing side of things, it may have justified getting people to buy an entire new game. I like the
100%.
idea of building on the world as well, like with extra content, like similar to what you were saying about that.
Yeah, I mean, whilst it does come with the Left Behind kind of prequel DLC surrounding Ellie, the remaster also came with that on the PlayStation 4.
Yeah, which I've
But the
played.
Yeah, which is great. But the PlayStation 4 also came with the Factions multiplayer mode, which is a fantastic multiplayer mode, whereas that has been ripped out of this. They haven't done the multiplayer aspect for this remake. So again, you know, consumers are thinking, well, we're actually getting less product in terms of actual checklist items here in this package for a full priced game. And you know, this next iteration of Factions has been talked about for a few years now about what Naughty Dog are. They are working on a multiplayer game. Is it Factions 2.0? What is it? And the fact that isn't either ready yet, or maybe it's been scrapped, or maybe it's turned into something else. Maybe Factions no longer exist, and they're not going to be going down that avenue for The Last of Us multiplayer anymore. We obviously don't know. But had this launched next year, and maybe Factions was ready to go, or a platform that they could build on the multiplayer aspect, but it's like a core kind of skeleton framework for Factions, it's ready to go and put that out as a package as well with it, then I don't think anybody would again be complaining about £70, because you're getting this multiplayer aspect of this world, Fireflies against the Fedra kind of factions, or maybe the third class as well from part 2 comes in as well, the Scars, maybe that gets added to it. And all of a sudden you've got this really enticing new multiplayer offering with a new lick of paint, new physics work, new models and everything like that, new lighting work for part 1, and then that is your package. And you know, I understand the kind of the business reasonings of getting it out to generate hype for the HBO show. We know that's coming next year, but again, that's coming next year. Why not put the game out next year when the show's about to land? Like, the show's like a week away or 2 weeks away, and then the game drops just before it to generate hype for it then, rather than a year in advance or something like that. So it's unfortunate that this is the kind of conversations that are now stealing the thunder of this amazing masterpiece of a game, rather than it being celebrated to say, oh my God, look at how amazing this thing looks and now plays on the PlayStation 5. And it's Sony are unfortunately not doing themselves any favors in the headlines the past little while, and it's because of unfortunate decisions like that. Because, man, like just seeing the extra physics work that's been added to this game, stuff that you wouldn't necessarily notice, but you feel, and it's that kind of thing that's hard to kind of market because it's all about feeling. Like in the first game, you couldn't really like. This is going to sound horrible, but you couldn't shoot the legs of the enemies and have them crawl toward you, kind of thing, like Resident Evil style. But you can do that, and you can do that in Remake now. Do you know what I mean? So you can be a bit more targeted with your shots. You can shoot them in the arm and things like that, and they'll recoil, and like that's stuff that they had in part 2, and that's been put over to part 1. And that's the kind of stuff which I think they're referring to when they say we've improved the gameplay. Not the ability to quickly dodge or to lie and go prone, which is what everybody's kind of fixating on. And Sarah, you're absolutely right. In order to add that kind of stuff into the game, they would have had to massively rework a lot of the environments, a lot of the encounter design, and that is a project that's maybe just a bit too big to kind of get this delivered. And then it no longer feels like the part 1 that you remember. And that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to really capitalize on nostalgia for part 1. Then, like, we played it way back on the PlayStation 3, and I probably picked up the remaster and played that to death as well. And again, it's that double-edged sword of do you do a Resident Evil 2 remake where everything is drastically different in terms of the camera work and the movement? And that is very much like, for me, that's the GOAT of remakes right now. Or do you do this is maybe one for Jamie as well, do you do like a Halo Combat Evolved Anniversary where they haven't touched the gameplay at all, but they've given it well, for the Xbox 360 era, modern graphics and modern kind of lighting, stuff like that, because they don't want to mess with the feel of that celebrated FPS shooter that defined Xbox. And so it's a tricky situation. It's a difficult one to balance as from a business aspect, from a creative aspect. But I think it comes down to the price. And now this is where I will get you both of your opinions on the price. For me, had it been $20 or £20 less expensive, we probably wouldn't be having this conversation. The audience would probably be like, okay, it's $50, £50. I can see the value here because it looks so amazing, and then I'll go out and buy it. Sarah?
I'm inclined to agree with you. That the £70 price point seems like a lot, considering what you get versus what you don't get. I don't know if it's even possible to do this, but if it was possible to reward people who had already had copies of the game, give them a discount and say, oh, you can essentially upgrade your version to the remake, that would be great. And if it was then it was like £50, £40, something like that. It just feels like 70 is a lot for nostalgia. Especially because actually we played Last of Us quite recently. So for me, I think we played it. We replayed it when the second one dropped. So we replayed through the whole thing. So it feels still quite new for me. And that makes me reluctant to be spending 70 quid. It makes sense if it really genuinely was a new game, if it had additional content, if it had... I think more for me, it's about additional content, because I love the idea of it being the same story, cleaned up and made to look pretty. But it would just be nice to have a little something else.
Yeah, even if it was a package with, like, they bundled it with part 2, but part 2 was a proper PS5 upgrade as well. Something like that would have gone really far to quell all of this anger.
Yeah. I also think that I literally had a my thought fell out of my brain. I was going to say something and I've forgotten. You guys talk
It'll
about
come back. It'll come back. Jamie, what do you think?
Okay, I'm choosing my words very carefully because I have previous when it comes to this sort of discussion, and I'm not getting another community of fans angry with me at this stage. I have a problem with it. I really do. But the problem I have is partly with the price point they've set and partly with people going out and paying it. You look at Combat Evolved Anniversary. The nostalgia was real. Halo, one of my favorite games of all time. I got to go back and play it again, but I didn't have to pay full price for it. Sure. I didn't have to pay out like it was a new game, so that was worth it to me. It's like, no, this is great. I'm going to be able to sit down and play it again, and because I would do that now and again anyway, just replay Halo. So, but this time it's going to be much better looking, and then of course Master Chief Collection came along, and we got that again in spades, and it was great. The problem with something like this is they set that price point because they know they can, because they know that people will ride that nostalgia wave and go, oh, well, I'm going to buy it. It's my favorite game series. I'm going out and buying it. Every time we do that as a community, we're voting with our wallets and saying it's okay to keep taking money off of us. We don't mind because we will do anything for nostalgia or we'll do anything for hype. And it's at some point, the only way you fix it is if we all stand up and say, I'm not doing it anymore. You release it for 50, I'll pay it. You release it for 70, you're not getting any sales. And no one will ever do that because it's personal choice and people can spend their money how the hell they want, which is totally fine. So it's kind of a double. I don't like it. I think they need to start. I think the onus needs to be on the gaming industry to say, okay, look, we could rinse you, but we're not going to because it's not entirely justified. And then they'll garner an awful lot more love in the court of public opinion, and then that can only pay dividends for them in the future when they release their next big game or they have a delay on the game that's coming up. But if they do things to make us love them, then we're more likely to give them a bit of leeway in the future. So it's a bit, but I don't think it's worth it to me. If it were me buying, and obviously I'm having to compare it on the basis of a game I've not played, but to me personally, it wouldn't be worth it to go out and do it because there's not enough that's new about it for me to spend that money. I would sooner wait until further down the line when it's a wee bit cheaper and then pick it up at a sale or something and try it, because it does look amazing. That's the thing. There's nothing wrong with the game. It looks great, and I'm sure it's a great experience to play. But I don't think it's full price worthy. I don't think it's entirely fair to the fans to do it.
So here's my question for you. So you've never played, obviously you don't have a history with The Last of Us as a series, so you're not a super fan that they're really capitalizing to go and want to get this.
No.
The exact opposite of what I am, unfortunately. Whereas I was like, I really should vote with my wallet, but fuck it, I really want the game. So here we are. So if you had a PlayStation 5 with no history with The Last of Us, this game comes out, as far as you're concerned, it looks like a brand new game for your PlayStation 5. Even then, you're still not tempted to say, I'm happy to pay this full price game for this PlayStation 5 specific game. It's new to you, so therefore it's like a new game. It's like a modern game. That's still not enough, you would think.
I still think I would wait for a sale, because I would know that it wasn't something brand new. It was something that was brand new to a lot of people, 9 years ago. And although this experience is going to be a much more polished one and look really nice, it would still rankle with me to feel like I was paying full modern era price for something that wasn't entirely modern era.
Yeah, I suppose that's the thing, because it still feels like it plays like a PlayStation 3 game. Only it looks so much slicker and it looks so much smoother, and the animations are far beyond what was ever possible on a PlayStation 3. But compare it to the improvements in gameplay which we kind of expect for modern games to have. It obviously doesn't have that, so you will be thinking, well, it sure is pretty, but it feels like I'm playing a game from 2 or 3 generations ago. And there's not a problem with that. I mean, one of my favorite games of last year was Kena Bridge of Spirits, which looked like a DreamWorks movie or Pixar movie. Those little black what are they called? They're rot creatures. They're so adorable. They have to be plushies. Again, that game feels like you're playing like a Jak and Daxter or a Crash Bandicoot, like mechanically and things like that. It looks doesn't look, but it feels like it's playing a PlayStation 2 era game, and they kind of embrace that. But it looks gorgeous. It looks modern. But the gameplay, like, there's no ledge grabbing when you're jumping to platforms, things like that, things that you would expect. It's like you have to make sure your feet are above the platform, otherwise you're not gonna make the jump. But that launched and it wasn't a full price game. I think it was about £40 or something like that. So it wasn't. I don't think, maybe I'm wrong here, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't the full £70 for that game, because it was a small, unproven indie team. It looked phenomenal. It had the backing, obviously, of PlayStation to promote it, but they weren't charging £70 for it, even though that is a brand new IP, brand new game for your PlayStation. So it's an interesting discussion to say what constitutes like a modern feeling game, whereas a lot of gamers are happy to have something that looks phenomenal, myself included, but still kind of has that feel of like the PlayStation 3, Xbox 360 era. I mean, Outriders is a fine example. That feels and almost plays identically to like Gears of War on Xbox 360. Unashamedly, like that's what they're latching onto, that kind of old school style of gameplay. But it looks modern. There's way more kind of flashy graphics and superpowers and things like that. But that's built upon, we just want to make an old school game, but it looks phenomenal.
Yeah, so maybe the issue lies in the fact that they're trying to bill it as a brand new game where they shouldn't be. Like, maybe if they didn't take that perspective. Also, that thing you were saying about people coming at it as new players, that was what I was trying to say before when it dropped out of my brain. And maybe it would make sense to be releasing this closer to the time of the TV show, so that if somebody encountered the TV show and then went, oh wait, there's a video game on this, and then they come in and they play part 1, which already looks pretty, which already is nice, and then they play part 2, and I think it would have worked much nicer that way around.
I think so as well, because you're going to be getting that whole audience who have their first encounter with, what is this new HBO show? Have you heard of The Last of Us before? It's like, dude, have you played the game it's based on? Well, go
Mhm.
check it out. It's just came out on PlayStation 5. Looks amazing. This is the Joel that I grew up with. Go check it out, because Pedro Pascal is your Joel, but Troy Baker's my Joel. Let's
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the differences and have that kind of conversation. So it's a strange one for sure. I think they messed up the timing of when they chose to release it. I think they messed up a lot of the messaging, and they just came in way too high a price, which is unfortunate. And it is unfortunate, but same thing. It's the kind of thing where I don't regret buying it, but at the same time, I think I feel dirty buying it as well because it's so expensive.
That's
and
the thing.
I knew I shouldn't have, but
Stop
I did.
enabling this.
Yeah,
I know
Accessibility.
exactly.
Yeah, think of the accessibility for like gamers. Like, surely we want to have a community where everybody can play, regardless of what their income is, you know. And this kind of 70 quid for a brand new game is really tough, and it also sucks having to wait for a sale because I want to play this game now, you know, but I can't because I can't financially, you know, justify it. Yeah, that sucks.
Oh,
Totally.
the FOMO amongst gamers at this point constantly, and it's. But I think that's the thing. It's like you said, you don't regret buying it. You feel that that's it all over, because that's what I'm saying with the voting with our wallets thing. I'm not actually. I've never actually expected or called for the gaming community to rise up and be like, we won't pay. Because no one's going to do it. Because I get it. Because I've paid over the odds for games too soon that I probably should have waited for, because I've had so much hype for them. I'm like, I have to play this. This is something I've waited for. So I've never questioned any one person's personal choice in buying a game and enjoying it. But as long as we all keep doing it, we're all going to have to keep putting up with this happening. There's no easy way out of it, unfortunately. That's what the only way it could potentially change would be for a little bit more responsibility from some of the game companies to actually step up and go, do you know what, we'll cut you a break and we won't charge you quite as much for this one. But ultimately, is any business not going to apply a price to the product that is the most money they can get out of you for that thing? Because it's business, like, you know, yay capitalism, but that's what we signed up for. So
yeah,
I know. Okay, that has been a good half hour ranting about The Last of Us Part 2. So, Part 1, I should say. Let's move on to our next topic, and that is Cyberpunk 2077 is back in the headlines. Just the other day, they put on a new, unexpected Night City Wire, which is their live kind of streaming blog format, video show blog format, where they give you updates of the game and things like that. And it was hugely successful in the run-up to the launch of the game. Went quiet for a little while, but now they're back with some new content and some new announcements. Before we get into the announcements, I want to ask both of you, what's your experience with the game Cyberpunk 2077? Are you fans of it? Did you play it? Did you avoid it like the plague because of all of the furore and issues around it when it launched when was it, last year? Was it 2020? No, 2020. So what, 2 years ago? No, it was last year. Was it last year?
Last year.
I remember when it launched.
Last year. Yeah.
No, it wasn't. It was launched the same year as the console launches, right? So that's 2020.
So
yeah,
2020.
The last 2 years are just one blow of bad news, really. So it's just
like a clump of time.
Yeah,
I know. Yeah. So Sarah, we'll hand over to you. What's your vibe on Cyberpunk?
I was a plague avoider. I was super hyped for it, but we didn't organize getting a pre-sale, and then heard that it was a car crash with all how buggy it was, so we didn't get it and still haven't got it. Although that being said, when Witcher 3 came out, it had a similar like buggy launch, so I mean maybe we should have given them the benefit of the doubt. I think they've fixed a lot of bugs, and I would still like to play it. I guess it's just it felt like it was it overpromised and underdelivered, only purely based on what I've heard from other people because I haven't played it yet. The thing I'm really excited about though is the Netflix show that they're doing. Like, so the animation studio did Neon Genesis, and I'm an anime fan, so I was like, that is super cool. They also did one of the what were they called? You know, the Star Wars shorts that they did. The little animated
Star Wars
Visions
kind of series.
Yeah, so they did one of those, the one called The Twins. So animation wise, I'm like super excited for that. And watching the trailer, it looks absolutely nuts. Like, it looks so cool. And then it made me go, oh, maybe I should try playing the game, which is essentially what I was thinking of with The Last of Us Part 1. You've kind of got if you watch the TV show, maybe you'll play the game. So that's probably what I'll end up doing.
Jamie?
Yeah, I'm middle of the road on this one with Cyberpunk, because it was a game that I just, and I say this with nothing but love in my heart, didn't care, but only purely because I haven't even got around to playing The Witcher yet, and I get lambasted for this on a daily basis by friends, because I really do need to play it. I played like 10 minutes of it. I played 10 minutes of it, and I really liked it. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to sit down and play this properly. Haven't done it. Seen lots of it. Loved it. Haven't watched the show yet. I am everything involving CD Projekt Red, I'm a big fan of what you do, guys, from what I've seen. I just haven't had time to play any of it at all. But Cyberpunk, there was obviously the whole furore that built out of it. I was sat back watching it from a distance thinking, this is a shame. I know a lot of people were hyped for it. It's a setting I love. It's very. I don't know why I'm constantly reminded of books today, but I keep coming back to. There's a sci-fi series I love from way back in the day by an author called Harry Harrison. It's the Stainless Steel Rat series, which really needs a video game series. By the way, if anyone's listening who can make that happen, I will worship you forever. But that's very cyberpunky and very that sort of era. So it's a genre I love. It looks really good. At some point, I will get around to playing it. But similarly to what you said, the Netflix show was what got my attention most out of that whole announcement. It's little things in the trailer. Like there were blood spatters dropping to the musical cues and things like those sort of things. Always make the hair stand up on my neck. And I am a huge Evangelion fan, particularly. So I was very happy with that. And Matt Mercer's in it, which
I know
straight away I was like, if it's got a Critical Role cast member in it, I will watch it. So, I was quite sold on that.
Yeah, it's got kind of like Ghost in the Shell kind of vibe to it. What's that super famous old Akira?
Akira. Yeah, it has that look of just being like hyper violent, but gorgeous to look at, and clearly they've put a lot of investment into it, and that just shows by the talent that they've obviously recruited to be the custodians of this Netflix series, which is obviously called Edgerunner for the benefit of our audience. And it just looks fantastic. And now going back to the game, I've got a bit of a different cyberpunk journey than the two of you, obviously, because I bought into the hype. Right, I'm such a fan of getting like whipped up into a frenzy for something that is clearly can never ever possibly deliver. So that was me through all the promotional stuff. It's like, this is clearly going to be amazing. It's going to be the greatest game ever. Pre-ordered it. And I knew I had, at the time I had my Xbox Series X in the bank, pre-ordered as well. So this was going to be my next generation experience. The next generation is going to be here, and Cyberpunk is going to usher in this whole new era of gaming. We're going to show what they can do with open world quest designs, character designs, themes, all this kind of stuff, and style and gameplay. It's going to be amazing. So I thought. As it turned out, then after the fact, after I'd got it and started playing it, I thought, it's a bit rough. And then all the stuff started dropping, like all the articles started dropping. It's like, oh my god, they totally pooped the bed on this one in a huge way. It's not ready. And anyway, but because I was on a next generation console, it ran much better and less buggy, still very buggy, but less buggy than anybody trying to run it on the previous generation of hardware. But it was enough that I thought, it's great. I'm really, really enjoying it. I love the characters. I love the writing. I love Night City driving around, but it's not the big future open world reinvention that we had hoped it would be. So I put it down after finishing it. I did actually complete it, and I actually loved the writing and the story. So I put it down, came back like a year later when the proper next generation version came out, the proper one. And they fixed so much that now it is a phenomenal game. In my little humble opinion, I think it's just fantastic. It's so solid now. They've fixed so much. And again, they're continually adding updates and improvements to it. I haven't tried the latest patch, which is 1.6, I think. 1.5 was the big one for next gen. And It looks gorgeous. It runs really well now, and I could recommend it to anybody as long as they're on a next generation console. But what everybody was hoping for is when are we going to get like a big expansion pack for this? Because they did such good expansion packs for The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. There was Blood and Wine. There was Heart of something, Heart of Stone or something like that. Was it called? Or is that right? Does that sound right?
I don't know. I can't
anyway,
remember.
the big new expansion packs for it, and Blood and Wine was I think the biggest one, which had the whole new area. Which again, the DLCs of Witcher 3 I have not played. I've only played the base game, so I'm looking forward to that. But they finally announced a big expansion pack coming next year called Phantom Liberty, with a little bit of a short, almost 1 minute long trailer for it. And again, it looks too good to be true, because it looks so slick and so impressive, like visually. And I'm really curious about the theme of it as well, and what they're going to do with it. It's clearly based around the presidential campaign or something like that, because it's the voiceover and narration is about running for president for the United States. So I don't know what kind of interesting talking points they're going to be pulling, and satire and things like that. The CD Projekt Red are going to be going to town with in this thread that they're going to be producing for us. So I'm hugely excited to see more on that. But yeah, as you said, like the anime just looks so good, and that is that I hope is going to either get people interested or bring people back to say, oh, this Edge Runners is wicked. Do you remember that game, Cyberpunk, that came out? Maybe I'll check it out again now that it's in a bit better state. So it just looks so good. Yeah, so
and I don't know what the actual timeline is on it, but is the Netflix show coming out around the same time as the DLC? Because that seems like really good timing to me.
I think so. They did an Edge Runners tie-in DLC, which launched yesterday, I think.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't know when the anime is actually out. But yeah, like to have that marriage, that marketing hookup would be very smart.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyway, final topic of the show, guys, and we've got a lot of time to hold Jamie's hand through this one, Sarah. This is where it turns into a therapy session for Jamie. You should almost, like, for our audio listeners, you're missing the fact that Sarah's in a padded room because it's our professional sound recording booth. She is a bit crazy, but the good kind of crazy. But I kind of wish that Jamie needs to be in there instead of you right now, because he needs a padded room for the woes of Halo Infinite. Jamie,
I am so angry. I don't have words. Right.
Shall we let our listeners and viewers understand what's got you riled up this time about the ongoing saga that is Halo Infinite?
They've taken my co-op campaign away again, and I called it. I fucking called it months ago. When I had friends saying to me, "Oh, but it's coming up," and I'm like, "It's never happening. It's vaporware. It's not a thing. We will never play this game co-op. It's just done." But 343 don't want you to have friends. They hate joy. I have nothing anymore. I feel like I have given a lot of love to Bungie and subsequently 343 over the years. I have bought everything they made. I have stacks of Halo-related nonsense floating around me on the shelves. I have paid good money, and I have given much time and much of my heart to these guys. And I feel like they said to me, it's going to be okay, and they took me by the hand, and they led me on a lovely beachside walk at the sunset, and then we went and sat. We had a beautiful dinner. They plied me with champagne. They took me back to the penthouse suite where rose petals were laid out on the bed. They lay me down, and then they took a run up, kicked me square in the balls, and set the building on fire and left. It just isn't. It's not fun anymore. Right? It was teasing before. It was kind of playful. Now you're just being mean. I'm done. And they've announced campaign co-op networking. I'm like, yeah, because that's what people do these days. They say, hey, buddy, I know you live 400 miles away because none of us live anywhere near each other, but do you want to come round with your console and an extra television and 30 feet of RJ45 cable so we can sit and finally have a go? No one's going to do it, 343.
I don't even know if you can do LAN parties anymore with the new systems and with the new game. I think
You
it's just
can.
online. Can
You
you?
can-
Okay.
There are ways of doing it, but I mean, don't get me wrong. I could actually. There are ways of doing it as well. So there are people. Do not go out of your way to look for the various ways that you could run a network over the internet and play with your friends, but you can, and it's the only way you're ever going to play it across the country because they will never give you what you want. I'm done. I've yet to play the campaign of Halo Infinite. It's the first Halo campaign I have not played. And I held off for so long because I have played every single campaign that they've released co-op with friends. That was always my first experience. It was important to me. And they have taken...
So,
I've lost my smile.
I've got smile. So, viewers and listeners, just to parse that rant for you that Jamie went on, what we're specifically talking about is the fact that campaign co-op network only has been delayed again. And it's out to November 7th, I believe now. That's when it's going to actually properly land. 4 just fine is getting released as a beta. Again, that has been getting delayed and delayed and delayed and delayed. But the big one that's really kind of upset a lot of people, and my boy Jamie especially, is that split screen co-op has been axed entirely. And what is a bitter pill to swallow about that one is that so many of us like to have friends round. Parties, gaming parties, get the gang round, and you do split screen campaign co-op or split screen multiplayer, and you have an absolute blast on the sofa, on the couch, big bucket of nachos and popcorn and snacks and things like that, and you have a party in person, and it's great fun. It's a great time. Couch co-op is something that we need to hold on to, and never ever get rid of. And to make it worse, when I think it was Halo 5 launched without it, they said, we are never doing that again. We will always make sure all future Halos will have campaign split screen because it is one of the pillars. It's one of the foundations of what makes Halo Halo. And here they are, unfortunately, pulling the rug out from under it. And it's really, really disappointing. Now, you can easily argue if they've got numbers to say not many people play split screen, but I don't think that's fair, and I don't think that's accurate either because, well, obviously you're not going to have numbers from Halo 5 because you didn't have split screen, so you're not going to have any numbers there. But I think Halo 4 had it, right? I'm pretty sure the Master Chief Collection has split screen co-op for all of them.
Chief does. Chief Collection definitely does.
Yeah, apart from maybe 5, which 5 isn't part of the Master Chief Collection anyway. It's only 1 to 4 and Reach as well, and ODST. It is so. I mean, for the fans, and this is Xbox's flagship IP. It always will be. It's what built the platform of Xbox, and it just feels like they are making mistake after mistake, and the fan base is dwindling and getting so frustrated and annoyed with them, which is such a shame because they came off such a high last year of doing the beta of the multiplayer. Everybody loved it. And it is the best playing Halo probably since maybe Halo 3, maybe even Halo 2. And it's fantastic. Reach. It is Reach, yeah. Reach is amazing was amazing as well. And it's so upsetting as a fan to see what is getting done to this franchise and see how mishandled it's becoming. I'm not as upset as Jamie, but I'm getting there. I am getting there. And it's such a shame. Because the campaign's great.
I've I mean, I've not actually played any Halo. I don't know. I've probably played it like a tiny little bit, but it's not a franchise that I've played very much of at all. But it's the OG split screen co-op, isn't it? It's like the founding, and literally, I would say nothing beats that. Nothing beats being in a room with your friends, playing together, split screen. So the fact that they just axed that seems ridiculous to me.
I know.
Yeah, I mean, literally, my main experience of Halo is the web series Red vs. Blue. That's the only thing that I have as context.
I love that.
It's so good, though.
I like me. I love Caboose.
Yeah,
that's the thing. I have steeped in Halo lore. I've read the books. I watched Red vs. Blue. I've watched Nightfire. I haven't watched the series yet because I heard too many things about how they mess with the story. And don't get me wrong, my father actually watched it, and he's not really played Halo, doesn't know a hell of a lot about the story, and he thoroughly enjoyed it as a sci-fi show. So I've gathered it's quite well made and quite good, but the storyline diverges greatly, so it's going to be a bit of a struggle for me. And I don't mind them. I'm the same with the Marvel stuff. Everyone, you always hear complaints like, that's not what they did in the comics. It's like, well, these aren't the comics. It's a different tale. So just enjoy it for what it is. You'll be fine. Take a deep breath. And but with Halo, the funny thing for me is that the Master Chief Collection keeps getting better. Like, they keep adding more Battle Pass stuff. They keep adding cosmetics. And the way the Battle Pass system works in Halo is fantastic. It's free. You don't pay anything for it. They add new seasons, but when they add a new season, you still want that helmet from season 2. That's fine. Go back and spend your points on that. They're still there. We're not taking them away. It's just this is more stuff to unlock. The Halo Reach is quite probably this may be a contentious point, but this is my opinion. Halo Reach is quite probably the best Halo multiplayer there has ever been. I can go back and play that, and and it runs beautifully. I know it was buggy at first, but they've fixed everything. It's great. Master Chief Collection keeps getting better. Whichever department in 343 is working on that, you get cupcakes, you're great. The guys working on Halo Infinite, no cupcakes for you. And if you do get cupcakes, they're not going to be good cupcakes. They're going to be dry, stale, and with unappetizing flavors. They've really, really, really dropped the ball on the whole thing. Yeah. And it's such a shame, and it really does upset me. It's not good. And the only response you get to it, I mean, I read the Waypoint post, and I think this is what bugs me as well. Bungie was so interactive with their community back in the day, and the guys from 343 were when they were, freshly fledged, like newly moved over. And the only thing that they've got from 343 at the minute is, Season 2's coming to a close. We want to tell you about the exciting future. Here are about 3 interesting points. And by the way, we're not giving you those things you wanted for. Peace out. And they're gone. There's no love anymore for the community from them. And it really is... I'm just not impressed. I'm really salty about this one.
Do you think they can pull it? They can turn it around and pull it back, because season 3 is not out till March of next year, and apparently season 3 is where the big changes that they've been working to get a handle on and have a steady cadence of content is going to start with season 3.
I think for me personally, the only way they can really pull it back at this point is we need to see some of these big changes implemented. They need to clarify what's happening with the actual campaign co-op, the online campaign, all of that. We need to be able to play that or get told you're never getting it, finalize it. The only way they can really pull it back is by actively engaging with the community and being honest and open and sitting down and saying, hey, look, we screwed up. We did. You know that. We know that. We made a lot of mistakes. At this point, I honestly think the only way that they can gain some traction with me and the people who think like me, because all Al and all my mates, they're all the same. They've lost love. They're done. They're not. No one's playing Halo anymore. No one's interested.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the only strength of feeling you're going to get from it is me and rage. Everyone else has become ambivalent. It's just done. If they would, I think at this point, unless they're going to turn around and say, guess what, we've shit the bed, and we are going to do all we can with our updates and things, and we'll keep you posted on them. But realistically, what we're doing is looking ahead to the next Halo game, and we're going to make it a proper Halo game, because this wasn't. That's about the best way that they could get some traction and some goodwill. And I'm hopeful that when I eventually snap and play the solo campaigns, is the only way they're going to ever let me play it, that I'll enjoy it. But it's always going to be tainted for me by the fact that I don't get to experience it like I should have been. So I don't know. I just don't know. I don't know what they can do at this point to make it up to us. I don't.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because you can, like, right now you can actually cause a glitch in the game and play split screen co-op campaign, and apparently it runs really well. But it's not. It's like a glitch that you have to, and you can get it to work, and that's what's happening. I think it must be in the PC side of the game, obviously, but. Yeah, and everybody's like, well, why not just make this official? Like
Yeah.
make it a feature that you can just actually do and then get people into it. But
Yeah.
it's such a shame. But in terms of you, Jamie, I wouldn't fret too hard, because November is when you're going to be able to officially get the campaign co-op just
No, I'm
online.
not.
Yes, you
No,
are. That's what I said.
No, November's when I'm going to officially get the next delay.
Oh.
That's the thing. It's impossible to get excited for, because they're saying, like, this time we mean it. This time it's definitely coming out in that month. But, meh. And even if it does by that point, it's just meh. I'm not going to be able to find anyone to play it with, because everyone's gone Halo. No, don't know her. But it's done.
Yeah. They'll be saying that's that Beyonce song, isn't it? And then they go back to Apex Legends instead.
You want to play Halo? Isn't that an HBO show?
Lost all relevance at this point. Poor Halo.
It has.
It is. I mean, can you imagine? And I don't want to start off a fanboy war or platform wars or anything like that, but I'm going to throw this out there anyway, just to kind of trigger some debate. Why not? Why not? Can you imagine any other platform holder taking their mascot, and this is the result of years of investment, years of work? Like, can you imagine Nintendo doing that with Mario or a Zelda game?
No.
Or Sony doing that with, like, God of War or the Uncharted or something like those mascot kind of IP games? Like, it would never happen. They would never allow it to happen. They wouldn't even release it if it wasn't ready.
Mm-hmm.
And we saw that with The Last of Us Part 2, right? Because Naughty Dog are clearly the most important studio, first-person studio in the Sony house.
Mm-hmm.
And that game was in development for years. And the amount of budget and resources that they would have, and you just know that there's no way that Sony would allow Naughty Dog to release anything that isn't absolutely perfect.
Yeah.
Because The Last of Us became the number one franchise for them. It was Uncharted, but definitely Last of Us has taken over. And it had to be like, you've got a tiny little bug, fix it. We're not going to do it with a day one patch. You need to fix it before we even go and get this in the hands of the public, because it's too important. And you just think, what's happened at Xbox Studios to fumble the ball with Halo so spectacularly in such a way, when it had so much goodwill when they did the free to play beta for the multiplayer only. I mean, I guess the alarm bells were ringing when they had to delay a year from 2020 to 20, because it's supposed to launch with the console, if you remember, and then they launched it last year instead. And now it's in a position where, God, it's like, I don't know the numbers. Are they losing numbers? Or is interest waning? Is it really becoming less and less relevant as a core pillar for the Xbox brand? Because are people excited for Halo anymore? And that's just a travesty, a real travesty for Big Green.
I wouldn't have believed it even a couple of years ago that we'd be in a position where people just were meh when it came to Halo. It just doesn't make sense. I think the problem is someone at Microsoft has made entirely the wrong call here and gone about it the wrong way. That we gamers are fickle. Right? You can put us off for months and months and years on a game, and you can keep teasing us with, it'll be here soon, and we'll moan and complain, and we will bitch and whine, and it will look like we are never going to play your game when it comes out. The minute you release it, we will play it. There is no doubt. They could have put this off until it was fixed, and it would have looked like they were garnering ill will, but ultimately, if the game came out and it worked and it was good, everyone would have flooded back, because it's happened. So we've seen it happen so many times. But you release it broken, and you fail to fix it, and you keep putting the fix off, and you keep dropping those numbers, people will abandon that game in favor of other games, and they won't come back.
Well, that's it. There's so much choice to go to. You can pick up any other thing, and it will play incredible. I mean, look at Fortnite, for example. I still don't know how they managed to keep up that conveyor belt of content and seasonal updates and events and things like that. I don't know how they managed to do it, but it is constantly doing fresh stuff. I mean, you can't do the same thing with Halo, because it's so like random pop culture stuff that they just
Yeah.
throw into Fortnite. Fortnite no longer has its own identity because it's grabbing everything, the identity of everything around it, whether it's Batman or Marvel or Lady Gaga doing a concert which is rumored, or it doesn't have its own identity, but it's fun, and it gets the audience in millions in numbers to just constantly jump in and get that character skin or that item, that Baby Yoda backpack or whatever it is. And I just wonder if Halo going as a live service was a mistake from the very beginning, rather than doing it as a proper multiplayer package like it's always done.
Yeah.
Feature complete, playlists, and not doing this kind of live service model where you're trying to fix stuff, but you're also trying to juggle seasonal content. And it clearly wasn't ready because the foundation wasn't there. And then now they're laying the tracks, but the train is running them over rather than staying ahead of the train, and it's brutal to watch, and it's making me sad, guys. It's making me sad.
It is genuinely heartbreaking. It so mad at you 343. They've taken something beautiful and pure and kicked it down the stairs, and I'm just no.
Oh, Jamie, they're there, Jamie, they're there. Anyway, shall we try and end on a happier note?
Please.
A different topic. Microsoft owns Call of Duty. Woo! No, I'm kidding. But maybe. But no, we won't be talking about it. We're going to maybe save that because that's a deeper discussion for maybe another time, that PlayStation's not happy about potential deals and things like that. But Xbox Elite 2 controller is coming to Design Lab, so you can get your customization groove on, everybody. So Design Lab, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Design Lab. It is the website where you can buy an Xbox controller, the best controller, I'll have you know. Don't at me. It is the best controller. And you can customize the color of the buttons, customize the triggers, the face color, the back of it, and you can really kind of tailor it to your own. I've actually got a Design Lab one that I themed up to match the Weekend Catch-Up Club color scheme, and it's very, very cool. I'm maybe going to pop that up for the VOD when I edit this together. And it allows you to create some wicked creations. And it's been rumored and wanted for a long time, but I actually didn't think they would ever do it, because the Elite controller, or the Elite 2 controller is the latest one, is a extremely premium product. It's very, very expensive. It's got metal components, it's swappable components as well. It's got the back paddles that are little forged metal pieces, and it's a gorgeous controller. And they're actually bringing that to Design Lab, which is pretty awesome. Now, I've had a quick look at what it actually means, and I think the customization is pretty minor, but I'm not sure just yet. It looks like only the actual face of the controller is the only part you can really customize. So you can't change the color of the triggers or the buttons or the thumbsticks or anything like that, like you can do on the base, the standard controller. But still, it's a step in the right direction for a lot of fans who maybe want a bright, hot, neon pink Elite 2 controller, or a white controller, or a blue controller, or a red controller, or whatever. And you can now buy that, which is pretty cool. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think that's seriously cool, because it's not something you can do with, not actual PS5 controllers anyway. You can get sort of a knockoff brand, competitor brand ones that will do pretty designs and stuff. But to get an actual Xbox controller designed exactly how you want it, that's so cool. Especially for I think for streaming purposes as well. It's really nice to be able to theme it to, like you said, Ross, you've got it themed to you. Also, I mean, who doesn't want something that's like uniquely theirs? It's very cool.
Yeah, because you could add your little kind of gamer tag or a message to the bottom as well, couldn't you? You could
That's cool.
like name it or something like that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't fit in Weekend Catch-Up Club on mine, so I've just got Weekend Catch-Up, which is it's kind of cool. It's kind of like my Weekend Catch-Up is with the controller and with my games. I'm catching up with my games. That kind of works on two levels.
That's cute. I want to see it.
Yeah. I shall. I'll get some pictures sent over to you.
Nice.
Jamie, you got to buy an Elite 2 controller?
Absolutely not. No, For me, purely personal choice. It's a lot of money to spend on something. I can spend less money on it that does the same thing. But that's very
True,
much a
of course.
reflection of level of income and how much I actually use my Xbox currently. So I'm on the PC, so more disposable income and sat on my Xbox a lot more. Yes, I would absolutely pick one up and I would have it color schemed to me because, goddamn, who wouldn't?
Yeah.
I've wanted everything customized since the first time I watched. Have you ever watched the 90s flick Hackers? So the moment that he put that bit of cardboard over his keyboard and sprayed it up to look like camouflage,
Johnny
and I looked
Miller,
at that, two thoughts in my
hair,
head. One, two thoughts in my head. One, that looks so cool. Two, I hope he can touch type because he's just sprayed over all the lettering. And he has no idea what anything is anymore. Literally, while I was watching it as a kid, I was thinking, that's not sensible, Johnny Lee. That's not, you've done a bad thing. But I love customizable stuff, like even down to the little touches around here. Like I cover everything in stickers, and you know, just I like it's that safe space. This is mine. I'm having a good time type feeling. So yeah. No, I think it's awesome that it's there. People will be able to have a lot of fun with it and make pretty things.
I think so. And a quick throwaway segue for Sarah on this. Actually, do you think that PlayStation, now that they've announced, finally they've announced a Pro controller, kind of as a competitor to the Elite controller, do you think they're maybe thinking about a Design Lab equivalent for DualShock, or do you think they like their official set, like 5 colors of official controllers of the DualSense, and kind of that's it, that's all you get?
I did actually think about this. I reckon that maybe it's a case of it must be very expensive to allow that level of customization. I know that the person who's buying the controller has, is paying for it, but to be able to allow so many different options, that must be really, it must be quite labor intensive for the company providing it. And Sony has got Sony money for sure, but it's not Microsoft money. You know what I mean? So I think that I don't think it'll be on offer. I think it'd be nice to have it as an option to compete, but I don't think they'll go for it. I just think it's stick with what they're good at.
Yeah, I think because Xbox have been really going kind of nuts with their special edition controllers. They did a really awesome one for Pride, and they've had other ones like
so cool.
and they had like the Master Chief version of the Elite controller as well, which was astronomically expensive. Couldn't get anywhere close to getting one. But yeah, as you're right, it's like, yes, whilst you're still buying like millions of individual components, like we'll buy 20 million thumbsticks that are all red or all blue or all yellow, and buttons will buy 100 million clear buttons, 100 million black buttons, but this is still got to like compile it and build it and put it together specific to somebody. And it's almost like every color of the rainbow you can have for each of your components. You can have different thumbstick colors, different D-pad, different bumpers, different triggers. It's like, it is kind of crazy how they managed to make it work, but and it's not even that much more expensive than an official controller anyway.
That's impressive.
Mine was about 65 when I got it a couple of years ago, and I think to buy a normal controller is about 50. So it's not a huge markup really either. It's not astronomical. It's a little bit, obviously. But I'm guessing they must just have so many cheap components, as in they've bought in bulk, therefore the price per unit is so cheap that they can just construct it very, very easily or quickly, and then it's negligible at that point. But it's kind of cool.
I actually wonder if that's it. I wonder if it's the fact that, because Xbox have been doing special editions, and quite a lot of them, for a long time. I mean, my 360 is a Modern Warfare 3 edition, and my controller is my Xbox One controller is a Gears of War release controller and all that. So I've got the Halo one. So they've been doing so much of that for so long. I wonder if that's what prompted them towards the customization route, is the fact that they've got at least a semblance of the infrastructure in place already.
Oh, yeah.
So they were sort of geared more towards being able to do it. Whereas if you're offering a set color range like Sony, and like you said, Sony money isn't quite Microsoft money, then maybe they're not quite as tailored for it. So I don't do business. I just rage about Halo on the internet.
Oh, Jamie, they're there. Never mind. We'll play some Ember in a little bit to cheer you up. How about that?
Oh, I love that game. Everything
Have
burns.
you played Ember, Sarah, at all?
No.
Oh, it's so good. It's a first person firefighting game, but it looks
Ooh, I've heard of
like
this.
it's like it's like it's
Yeah.
very kind of cartoony, and it's so comedy. You literally just pick the patrons up out of their burning building and throw them out the window to save them, whilst trying not to set the whole place on fire. It's hilarious.
Is this the one that
What
kind
the-
of has Overcooked vibes to it? Like in terms of the
Yeah, very manic.
like chaos co-op element?
Yes.
Mhm.
So much fun. It's so much fun.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
One of the very first things I did in that game was run bravely into a burning building, rush up the stairs, grab someone who needed saving, turned around, threw them out the window, missed the window, hit the electric, the generator that was sparking next to the wall, and killed them outright. And, well, I'm not getting a bonus for this one, chaps, and just moved on to the next victim.
But I am having a great
Brilliant
time.
game.
This is the content the audience is here for. You know? Charred cadavers when you're supposed to be
Oh, yeah.
rescuing them. Yeah.
Amazing. Love
Oh
it.
god, guys! So that is a wrap on episode 76 of the Weekend Catch Up Club podcast, the virgin episode for our brand new co-host Sarah Lynham, voiceover extraordinaire. Check her out in Rollerdrome, which just came out. And I'm going to need to check this game out as well. But guys, thank you so much for your support, for tuning in, either if you're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, whatever your favorite podcasting platform, we will most likely be there. And also if you're watching the VOD over on youtube.com/gamertagged. Again, thank you so much for hopefully double dipping the audio and the video. It's a great time, and thank you again so much for your support. We'll see you next week for more crazy gaming banter. But until now, that is it from me. Take care. Bye-bye.